huge announcement. Siri, or the developers of Siri, have now advanced how you use Siri. So to turn Siri on, to get an inquiry out of Siri, to get the information that you need, instead of saying, "Hey Siri," now it can be abbreviated to Siri. Big news, right? Super change. Well, this fits the world of technology because technology obviously wants to get faster and sleeker and more efficient, more effective. There's always this dialing down, etc. And there is this move then of the technology sector to make Siri even more faster and more accessible to you, the user. So we now move from "Hey Siri" to Siri. Does this matter? You need to understand that there's some other things going on about this, and the implications are not so good. So first of all, when these robots or these listening devices were first set up, they were to be turned on by us saying something like, "Hey Siri." But you might not be aware of this, but they are no longer turned on. A lot of these are just radio transmitters hooked to the internet that always stays on, that is always recording everything you do, which is how they can quickly bring the information to your attention. Of course, nobody's ever going to use this information against you. That's what we always say until an evil entity gets into power over those type of circumstances. So if you were in a conversation about Nike shoes and you have mentioned shoes 3 or 4 times, Siri has already been listening to this and looking up information related to this so that when you ask the question, it can give you a lightning fast response. So we're not turning it on anymore. It's like, "Hey Siri," which turns on the listening and researching device. Now it's just more like Siri. And the point of this is psychological. There are several things that's going on. Number one, you are interacting more with Siri as if it is a personality, which do not think that artificial intelligence is not going to be used to enhance this service if it's not already. So they're trying to get you to identify and connect with Siri being a type of personality. And if it's a personality, then it has something to offer us as fulfillment as it interacts with us. And so instead of it being turned on, it's already on. And instead of it being more distant because it is off, now if you just say Siri, psychologically you're even closer to this relationship than you were previously. These changes are very subtle, but they are very real. Now here's the factor to consider. If this product is already on and you are relying upon it in your conversation with another, then it becomes a third party in your conversations. Now, do we really need the internet as our third-party conversation? Do we need an artificial intelligence as our third-party conversation? There are things that happen between one human being and another that are emotionally deep and to be private and to be shared and are momentous. Now, that is not to exclude groups of human beings, but to all of a sudden to be forced into a scenario that Siri is always listening. Siri is always present. Siri is always here with the information when you need them. Siri begins to step into the actual physical presence of acting as if it is God before God, because God is everywhere. God is all-knowing. God is all-seeing. God is all-hearing. God is all-powerful. God has access to these things instantly, but Siri is stepping into that role. I don't know if you're catching this, but you need to be paying attention. So as human beings, we need to start asking ourselves the question, do we really want to be involved in a world where as we are conversing and talking to other people that we have this third-party conversation of who we think is in this conversation or not? And it's not that we shouldn't have conversations that cannot be held openly, but anyone can distort or hold your words against you, and you don't have the capacity to actually read them the way they are reading you. So for instance, if I am stepping into territory that might be offensive to someone, I can begin to modify my language and say, hey, I'm going to take that a little slower. I'm going to explain myself a little more. I'm going to explain to you how I came to my conclusions, and I can be loving. But for those that might be eavesdropping, they can assume whatever they want because they're eavesdropping. They're not directly in the conversation. They do not give you any of their biorhythmic feedback to honestly interact with them in an honest fashion. Now, you are interacting with other human beings this way, whether you know it or not, or they're interacting with you in this fashion, whether you know it or not. But are you giving permission for these things? I think all of this is going downhill in rapid fashion, and I just wanted you to be aware of it.